I told my coworkers he lasts only seconds, now he won't even look my way at work. Hi, my name is Ellie, 31, female. I have no idea how to work this app. I've never been a technology person. I barely know how to put on my phone. My friends in college used to joke that I'm a grandma. Guess I am. So, basically, I have no idea if I'm even doing this right. I sure do hope someone sees this because it's really sitting on my conscience and I need some help. Also, I know typing this is going to take hours, so... Okay, like I said, my name is Ellie. That's not my real name. I really can't have you guys figuring out who I am and where I work. I've been married to my husband, Deshaun, 31, male, for 3, almost 4 years now. Deshaun and I met at work. Straight out of college, I got into a pretty good startup. There was no money really coming in, but I knew that it was going to blow up in a few years. So I did the slightly irresponsible thing and rejected the big offer I had from a more established company to work at the startup. I was right, of course. Within 3 years, the startup blew up and big money started coming in. Just 4 years after graduating from college, I was making 6 figures a year. To celebrate, the CEOs of the startup organized a little work party for all of us. In the office, we had only 9 workers. But for this party, all the remote workers were invited too. That brought our total number up to 14. You may have guessed where this story is heading. Deshaun was one of the remote workers. He was the graphics design guy. He only came into the office once a week and I barely saw him. That work party was the first time I'd seen him for longer than 1 hour. He also seemed a lot more relaxed now. I can't forget. He had on a casual shirt with Crocs. His hair was out of his braids so I could see his afro. He was beautiful. I knew that even just seeing him in passing, but now that I allowed myself to really look at him, God. Words couldn't even start to describe him. Just know he was the kind of man that deserved to be on Vogue, not a graphic designer in the middle of San Francisco. I kept making eyes at him. The drinks made me bolder. Not bold enough to go up and talk to him, but bold enough to stare for longer. Eventually, he looked back at me too. Deshaun's always been brave. He didn't look away. Instead, he came up to me to talk. We spent an hour just talking. We joked and exchanged funny stories about working at the startup. I liked talking to Deshaun. He was very intelligent and he thought his words through before saying them even when tipsy. After the hour, he asked me if I wanted to split. I looked around at our coworkers. Many of them were drunk. All of them were at least tipsy. Even our bosses. No one would notice if we left. So we did. We went out into the night. I know everyone says this about their city, but San Fran is genuinely the best city in the world. It's especially beautiful at night. Deshaun and I strolled through the streets looking for something to eat. Very shyly, Deshaun took my hand. We settled on gyros from a food truck a little far from our office. He got tzatziki down his shirt. Before I could laugh at him, he just pulled it off his body. He had a tank top on, guys. Don't worry. He wasn't going around shirtless. What I got from that was that he was the kind of guy that thought of solutions fast. When he turned to look at me, I made a split-second decision and kissed him. Classic love story after that. We didn't have a HR department at our workplace, but we still told our bosses. They were super happy for us as friends, but as our bosses, they told us not to let our relationship interfere with our work. That wasn't really a problem for us. We had already had a conversation about it, and we decided that we'd be completely professional while at work. Plus, Deshaun only came in once a week, sometimes twice. All our coworkers just teased us. I didn't really have friends outside of work, so they were the only ones I had. Life with Deshaun was good. I always say that we grew up together, and we did. We got together when we were 26, almost 27. It was my first real relationship. It was his second. What did we know about anything? Let's not even begin to talk about love. All we knew was that we loved each other. We made it work. We went through so much that we could have broken up multiple times, but we didn't. We stayed together because we both knew that relationships were hard work. We also both knew the importance of not taking ourselves too seriously. We joked with each other. We made fun of each other. We pranked each other all the time. We laughed ourselves to bits. Keep this in mind. It becomes kind of important later. Deshaun and I got married 2 years into our relationship. Some might say that we rushed into it. In fact, a couple people did say so, namely my dad and my stepmom. We didn't care. We knew we wanted each other forever. The wedding was small. We could have afforded a bigger one, but we didn't want one. We didn't know that many people. We still don't. The only people who attended were our coworkers, a few friends from college, and our small families. It was just a perfect day. I couldn't have asked for better. I always wanted to be a wife. Deshaun always wanted to be a husband. We were a match made in heaven. I thought I couldn't be happier with my life. I was wrong. Just 2 months after our wedding, I found out I was pregnant. Deshaun and I weren't ready to have kids, but we decided that it was a blessing regardless. A couple months later, our baby boy was born. We named him Jabari after Deshaun's grandfather, who died a few months before the birth. Jabari brought us even closer together as a couple. We loved each other deeply. Jabari is 3 now, and he's a spitting image of his dad. We don't want another kid right now, but who knows? That could change. What I'm trying to say is that we were happy. Deshaun was a present husband and a present father. I couldn't ask for a better person to do life with. There was only one problem. About 2 years after Jabari was born, Deshaun suddenly developed a problem in the bedroom. He didn't last as long as he used to. At first, I tried not to let it bother me, but as months turned into years, I admit I got a little annoyed. I hated how much I let it get to me, but whenever I tried to talk to Deshaun about it, he shut me down. It's not like there was anyone I could really tell. I didn't have many friends. It would be super awkward to talk to our family about it. Plus, Deshaun straight up refused to talk to a professional about it. I didn't think that it was a medical issue, but a mental one. But Deshaun wouldn't see a doctor nor a therapist. So here's where I majorly messed up. A few weeks ago, I was having lunch in the break room with 2 of my coworkers. Let's call them Maya and Juno. They were recently married too. We were all just talking about random things. I was complaining about daycare costs for Jabari. Honestly, the prices were outrageous. Maya was talking about getting tickets for Taylor Swift's show in Nashville. Then, somehow, the conversation turned into one of those weirdest things your man does kind of chats. You know the kind. At first, it was all fun and harmless. Maya said her husband only uses 1 fork, ever, and won't let her wash it. Juno said her boyfriend's feet are so ugly she makes him wear socks to bed. We were all just laughing. Then Maya said something like, "Well, Ellie, your husband is perfect, right? You never complain about Deshaun, and I don't know what the hell possessed me, but I just blurted it out. I said, he only lasts like 15 seconds. I regretted it the minute I said it. Both Maya and Juno looked awkward. I knew I had to salvage it and make it seem like I was joking. I followed it up with a joke about charging him by the second. They laughed, but it was still awkward. It was one of those things you say because you're trying to seem relatable. The conversation shifted to something else, and I breathed a sigh of relief. I hadn't messed up a social interaction like that since middle school. I was just glad to abandon the topic of Deshaun's and I's love life altogether. When I got home, Deshaun was in the middle of playing with Jabari. He's in a monster truck phase, and he won't let you leave until you spin all the wheels of his truck and make the sounds too. I was pretty tired from work, so I decided to lie down for a bit before dinner. Just as I closed my eyes, I got a text from Maya. "Were you serious this morning?" "About Deshaun, only lasting seconds?" I was very tired, so I just sent an emoji. The one where it's a face laughing behind a hand. I was just trying to be cheeky. I didn't want to say yes or no because either option would have led to a conversation I was too tired to have. Maya didn't text me back, and I fell asleep thinking I had heard the last of this topic. I thought it had died a natural death. It hadn't. Apparently, Maya told someone else. Who told someone else? The next day I walked in hand with Deshaun. Everyone stopped talking when we walked in. It was only for a quick second, but I noticed it. I decided to ignore it. I assumed that they were just gossiping about our bosses and thought one of them walked in. The day continued as usual. During our lunch break, Deshaun and I got lunch at our semi-regular spot. Deshaun mentioned a few of the guys being weird about him and making little inside jokes. I told him they were probably just pranking him. They did that sometimes. I didn't even think about what I told Maya and Juno. It was the last thing on my mind. I reminded Deshaun that his birthday was coming up, and our coworkers always gave him some grief every year as a bit. Deshaun felt a little better after that, and he didn't bring it up again. We got back to the office, and for the second time that day, I noticed the weird energy. They were being weird around Deshaun, but they were also being really weird around me too. They wouldn't look me in the eye. Maya kept shuffling awkwardly in her chair. Even the conversations felt weirdly stilted. I just thought they were being awkward for no reason. I was about to just go sit at my desk when Juno stood up and pulled me aside. She took me into one of the break rooms and made me sit down. Then she said, "I think Maya told everyone." To prove that I wasn't even thinking of the conversation we had, I just stared at her blankly until she rolled her eyes at me. "The thing about Deshwan that you told us, I think Maya told other people." I wanted to throw up. My palms started sweating. I suddenly got a fever. I think I was actually getting sick. My brain was going a mile a minute. Why in God's name would Maya tell someone else? Didn't she understand the concept of a private conversation? Jesus, what if it reached Deshawn? Luckily, Juno was able to stop me from spiraling. She told me that Deshawn didn't know yet. I breathed a sigh of relief. I thought that I still had time to get a hold on the situation. Boy, was I wrong. We get back into the office and Deshawn isn't there. I think to myself, great, perfect opportunity to tell them not to tell Deshawn about it. I didn't get the opportunity to say it. As I opened my mouth to talk, Deshawn walked back in. Like before, everyone stopped talking instantly. Deshawn threw his hands up in frustration and asked why everyone was being weird all of a sudden. Impossibly, the room got even quieter. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears. I sent a silent prayer that nobody would say anything, or at least they would just laugh it off and tell him it's all in his head. Then all of a sudden, one of our coworkers starts chuckling. "You're back from the printer?" That didn't take long. Everyone burst out laughing at that. Deshawn narrowed his eyes and asked what that joke was supposed to mean. Same coworker shrugged and said, "Ask your wife, maybe?" Deshawn's eyes turned to me. I knew instantly that I had to do something. I low-key forgot we had an audience. It was just me and him in that moment. It was an accident. It just came out, baby. Deshawn instantly figured it out. I can never forget the look on his face. He looked so heartbroken. I wish I could erase that look from my memory. I've never seen it on him before, and I never want to see it again. He immediately went to ask our bosses for the rest of the day off. They must have seen him near tears because 5 minutes later, he was packing up all his stuff. The office was quiet after that. I tried my best to keep it together, but I kept silently crying on my keyboard. My vision got blurry from all my tears. I just kept running the situation in my head, trying to figure out the best way to tell Deshawn that all this was a mistake and that I was so sorry. By the end of the workday, I still hadn't come up with a way that didn't make me seem like the biggest jerk in the world. I decided I was just going to cry and beg at his feet and kind of hope for the best. But I had to be smart. I decided that I was going to make him his favorite meal, get him super comfortable on the couch, and then beg and cry. If that didn't work, well, you'll see. When I got home, Deshawn was sitting at the kitchen table. I expected him to look up when I walked in like he usually did, but he didn't. I also know he heard me because his jaw tightened when he heard the door close. I realized that my plan of waiting a bit before begging for forgiveness wasn't going to work. Deshawn was angry. That initial hurt had hardened in his heart. If I didn't beg now, I knew that my marriage would be over. I launched into an apology. I cried and begged. Through it all, Deshawn wouldn't even look at me. He didn't say anything either. That just made me cry and beg some more. When I finished, he just stood up and said, "Jabari?" "Bath time, buddy." That rest of the day, he wouldn't look at me. He wouldn't sit near me. He wouldn't talk to me when we were alone. The only time he talked to me was when it involved Jabari. "Where's his book?" "The one with the dinosaurs?" "Did you get the animal crackers he likes?" "He's asleep." When we got into bed, I tried to reach for him to cuddle like we usually did. He was faster than me. He just fully turned the other way, his back facing me. It would have hurt less if he pushed me off him. It's been 2 days of this, and I feel like pulling my hair out. It's not the silent treatment per se, but it's as close to it as it gets. I called my brother to get some advice about the situation. I won't write everything he said because just remembering it makes me want to crawl out of my skin in embarrassment. But he was really angry at me. He said he couldn't believe I would say something so private and so personal to my coworkers about my husband. He said it was very cruel of me to tell others that even if we were joking around. I tried to explain, but my brother cut me off to ask if Deshawn has ever joked about my insecurities. That made me pause. He was right. Deshawn had never and would never do something like that to me, even if it was just for laughs. My brother didn't stop there. He asked me why I didn't just go to talk to Deshaun again and why I humiliated him in front of people he has to work with. And I didn't have a good answer for that one. I told him that I was tired and very frustrated. I said I didn't mean to hurt him, which is true. I didn't. My brother just ended the call. Now we're here. At work, Deshaun is cold and distant. We don't come into work together anymore. He barely talks to me at home either. Jabari doesn't know what's going on, thank God. But I know Deshaun's heart is broken, and it's my fault. So, internet strangers. People who don't know me, but maybe get me. How do I fix this? Is there even a way to make it right? Please don't be too harsh. I already know I'm the villain here. I just want to know if there's still a way to turn this around. Comments. Commenter 1. Deshaun was wrong for shutting you down when you tried to talk about it. He was also wrong for refusing to see someone about it. But I can't even begin to explain how wrong you are to tell people about that. It's a violation of trust, and it's going to take more than a few days to fix it. Commenter 2. You said it yourself. You think you broke Deshaun's heart. You have to mend it. Prove that he can still trust you. I can't guarantee that it will work, but you can say that you did try. Update. 6 months later. Hello, everyone. I am back. Unfortunately, I do not have good news. Deshaun and I are currently separated. I'm sure most of you could have seen that coming. God, I was so blind then. But whatever. No crying over spilled milk. Let me give you guys a rundown of the last 6 months. For the first few weeks after, I tried to make it work. I kept showing up in little ways for Deshaun, even though he wasn't even looking at me. Slowly, I must have worn him down because he did start looking at me again. I could see all the pain and hurt in his eyes. After a while, he started talking to me again. 1 month after the incident, we had a conversation. Deshaun agreed to try, a little reluctantly, to stay together. That didn't last long. He was too hurt to love me properly. 2 months after the incident, he sat me down after work and told me he wanted us to get separated. I cried. I cried so much. I thought I had built a life with Deshaun, and now it was basically shattered because of my big, stupid mouth. The process was hard and painful. I had to move out of our place. Have you ever tried to explain to a 4-year-old that Mommy and Daddy aren't getting divorced, but they won't live together anymore? It's a lot of questions. Jabari didn't fully understand. He thought I was abandoning him. When he asked me why, I was too embarrassed to tell the truth. I moved into a small 1-bedroom, still in San Francisco. I see Jabari on weekends, but because of school, he stays with his dad on the weekdays. On to maybe the biggest development here, I lost my job. Deshaun got a great offer from another company just a week after the incident. He took it. So at least that awkward energy didn't follow us into the office. Anyways, after the separation, I just moved through work like a zombie. I wasn't productive. I showed up super late. I missed meetings. I would drink on company time. I was a mess. I was put on probation like 3 times before I was finally let go completely. I still haven't found a job. It's hard when companies can see that you were let go for unprofessional conduct when they run their checks. I still have a lot of money saved from working at the startup, but it will run out. It might not for the next year, but it will. I can't live on it forever. As for Deshaun, conversations with him are all about Jabari. We only talk to coordinate drop-offs and school trips. Apart from that, it's radio silent. When we got separated, he told me it was better not to talk much so we didn't hurt ourselves. I agreed then, but I wish I hadn't. I miss my best friend. Sometimes, when I have a really bad day, there's no one I want to talk to more than him. He's the only one that ever truly got me in this world. I crave his comfort and his touch and his voice so much that I feel like I'm going mad without it. My relationship with my brother has deteriorated. He was my closest family before all this, and now we barely talk. He's super disappointed in me. He really liked Deshaun and saw him as his own brother. But I am working on rebuilding our relationship. I'm going to text him after I finish writing this, actually. So, that's it. But if you expected me to end this by saying that I have completely given up on marriage, you would be wrong. I am not going to give up. I love that man, and I would do anything to get my family together again. It's just a separation, not a divorce. People fall in love again all the time. Why would we be any different? Wish me luck, guys. I think I'm going to need it. Comments. Commenter. Maybe this is a bit harsh, but you need to hear it. Here's what my mom used to say to me when I'd mess up. Play stupid games and win stupid prizes. I'm glad you are not giving up, but this entire situation is entirely your fault. Get yourself some therapy before you enter Deshaun and Jabari's lives again. Commenter 2. You embarrassed your husband in front of your coworkers and you think there's a chance for your marriage? You're delusional, but you should be old enough to recognize that this separation was Deshaun's way of letting you down easy. Good luck, though.